Alright then guys, so welcome to another episode of your OOP with that in our introduction to DAT programming. In this video we are going to take a look at inheritance. Okay, so I'll record separate videos to talk about OOP in depth, the whole concept of object-oriented programming, where I'll talk about inheritance, polymorphism, all those concepts. But for now, let's just brush over the concept so you get a fair idea of how things work when we are using it in our introduction to Flutter development. Okay, so I'm going to create a class called person. So person has two values, a final string. It has two properties, name, then final string, say complexion, because everybody has a complexion, then final int some age. Okay, because everybody has an age, so I can do constructor and do this dot name, this dot age, this dot complexion, then do some error checking. So if this dot underscore age is less than 0, or this dot underscore age is greater than 500. I don't believe anybody has 500. You want to throw an argument or and say the property and passing this property is dot age cannot be less than 0 or greater than 500. Okay, so if this dot name dot is empty, you want to throw argument L and say a property name, so this dot name cannot be empty. So we are going to do the same for complexion. I'm just going to duplicate and for this complexion. Do the same for here. Okay, so I'm going to create an override method. So I'm going to say string to string. Instead of returning a super dot to string. Okay, so instead of returning a super dot to string, I'm going to return something else. So I'm just going to return, I'm going to paste so you don't have to watch me type all of this. I'm going to return this as in name, age, and complexion. Okay, so let me define another method, void sleep, because everybody sleeps. Then this print this person is now dreaming. Okay, so we can get rid of this void because by default it's returning nothing. Okay, so inheritance. The whole concept of inheritance is, for those of you that are conversant with web development with HTML and CSS, when you apply a property to the containing body tag, for example, if you have a div that contains another div, if you apply a property some style to the outer div. By default, the same style is applied to the inner div. So if I say the text in the outer div should all be caps, by default, the inner div inherits from it. So it's taking its properties from the outer div. The same way, if say I have created my person class, but I've made it in such a way that it's general and anybody at all can be this person, but you have different features. Okay, so we can create a different person to fit different positions. So I can say a student is a person, but what makes a student is what is going to differentiate him or her from, say, a teacher. Okay, so if I do, if I create an instance of the class, I'm just initiating the person class. But in this case, I want to create another class to represent a different object, in this case, student. So I can say class and say student. Then we are going to extends the person class. So it's inheriting from the person class. So the person is the base object. It has the skeleton of everything. So for example, when you are born, you you are born with some things. You don't have a name, you don't know what you are doing, those things. But as you grow, then you figure things out on your own. Say, I want to be this, I want to be that. So when you figure things out and you say, maybe I want to be a teacher, then you work on features that will make you a teacher. So a teacher teaches in the classroom, he uses a pen, he uses chalk, those things. That is what is going to make a student, and a teacher a teacher. Okay, so almost every student will have everything that is defined in a person class. So we don't want to redefine everything we've done here. We write the same code we've done here just for the students class. Okay, so what we do is we inherit from the person class, which means that we don't have to rewrite the entire block of code for the person class inside the students class again. Okay, we can just access it. So here I can just say, okay, so once we extend to the person class, as we've inherited everything that is in the person class, and we have access to everything. But since we want a constructor for our student also, we just say students, we are creating a student. Then we have to pass in the same exact objects that is available on the person class when we instantiate the person. So we have name, we have string, complexion, then we have int and page. Okay, so we just do this and call a super. So we pass in name, complexion, and age. Okay, so let me look at the order again. So name, age, and complexion. Okay, so this one should be age, and this one should be complexion. Okay, then everything that is available on the person class is now available to us on the students class, because every student is a person. Okay, so whatever a person can do, a student can also do, but there are some things a student can do that not every person can do. Okay, or will do. Maybe they can, but they won't. Okay, so we can define our custom objects here as well. So I can say maybe len, can say print a student is now learning. Okay, then maybe I can get something like rest, and I'll just print out the student is now resting. Okay, so I can now come into my main objects, main class, sorry, void main, and just instantiate a new student. So I can say student and just call him student, and I'll say student and passing name, which is Gambo. Complexion maybe is fair, and age is maybe 12. Okay, so now when I do students dots, I get access to all this, the learn, rest, sleep, and the to strength, which we have overridden and then created our own. But I don't want to access the say person and then students class from the same file. So I'm going to do what we call modularization. So I'm just going to separate my code. So I'm going to create a file and name it students.dat. Then I'll create one called person.dat. Okay, so I'll now get everything related to the person class, cut it, and now paste it in the person class. Okay, so now I can get everything related to the students class as well, cut everything and paste it in the students, but I have to bring in the person class, so I'll do import then person.that. Okay, so now I need to bring in students, so I'll just say import then say students.that. Okay, so now if I do students dots, I don't get access to the properties, the name, the complexion, and the age. Okay, so I can rest, I can sleep, I can learn. So sleep is from the person class. Okay, but then the rest, students dot rest, is from the students class. And you can create your own, you can add your own properties here, maybe int, no, maybe say some string and say school. Okay, then you can add maybe double and say average. So if you come to inheritance now, you have to add school. So maybe 10 USD, then average is something, I don't know, 56 point something. Okay, so once you have that, you can use it for basically anything. Okay, so once you have this, you can do exactly what you did in your students class. So I'm just going to make them final string, then say school, then final double, and say average, because then you can say maybe final string and say program. So I'll just have to add this and change everything. So the school now become this dots underscore school, then this dots underscore average, this dot underscore program. Okay, so now when we return to the inheritance class, we have the school, we have the average that is left with the program, which can be, say, um, computer science. Okay, so let me change this to maybe 76 point something. Alright, so you can define your separate properties you want to add to the student's class, and you can add as many as you want. So in okay, so in your constructor here, if you want to add some error checking for school average and program, you can do so by just adding a curly braces and then adding some error checking lines of code to check if everything is as it should be. So okay, so let's say average cannot be less than 0 or more than 100, then we throw some error and we say if let's say this dot school that is empty and we throw some error. We say let me just copy this, paste it here and say the property cannot be empty. Okay, so we just change this to school and change this as well to say program. So now I have error taken in both classes, and I can override the dot to string method in this as well. Okay, so basically that is inheritance. We can abstract a lot of things from our users with some of these things. So I'll get a separate video tutorials on OOP itself, the core concept of OOP, where we talk about classes, we talk about objects, constructors in depth, then we talk about inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, all those things in depth. So be sure to check that out. It's not yet out yet, so alright, so that is it for inheritance. I hope you enjoyed it. If you need to rewind the video, watch to get some concepts. The code for everything we did here will be available on my GitHub page as well. I'll leave a link in the description below. Be sure to check it out if you get stuck somewhere. And as usual, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support this channel. See you in another video.